Hi! Hi. So, we are not gonna have a long stream tonight. We are going to finish what we started last week with the toolhead, the handhead, just because I have other things that I need to do tonight. So, last week we started with the handhead, so we placed all the heat inserts except for those ones that I forgot and I did it like 10 minutes ago. So we are gonna start in 2 minutes. Uh, what we're gonna do is that we are going to use a Revo hot end, knife flow, and we are going to use an Orbiter 2.5. When that is done, if we have still time, I need to be gone in an hour. So if we still have time, we will take care of the back plate of the printer because it's sitting right there. Nothing's been done since then. It's been sitting quietly. So that's what we're gonna do. Just gonna finish things up with this, and hopefully we'll have enough time to make sure everything is correctly installed. I'm gonna take one of the printheads just to make sure I don't do something stupid. So that's what we are gonna end up with. Okay, so let's start this. Hi Sebastian, hi Chevron, Jeff, obviously, hi. So last week, what did we do? Last week we did this. So the back plate and the pins. So we made sure that the pins do align with the shuttle. We also placed the lead in here. As I said, I won't be using the nozzle leads, so I removed it. But that's it. And of course, we made sure that the hole here and here is 4 millimeters because, well, we will need to place a bottom tube from the extruder to the hot end. So let's see if I did everything correctly. No, I did not. So as you can see, I changed a few things here. Problem is that I'm gonna have to make sure that this do work. Okay, perfect. So last week we were here. That's what we did. That's what we did. And now we need to do this. So I'm gonna take the hot end and do exactly this. So we're gonna use M3 by 8. So let's grab the hot end. There. There, I've got everything. That's what we're gonna use. How do I remove this? Like this. Because I don't care about what's written on this. There we go. There is the nozzle that we're gonna keep. So M3 by 8. So the hot end's gonna go there. And we need M3 by 8 for these. Is this even 3? And let me check if that's M3 by 8. Yes, so that's what we're gonna use. And a screwdriver. Up. Yes, perfect. So let's do this. That shouldn't be too hard to do. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and the last one. And now we can tighten everything up. There. Let's make sure everything is okay. It's okay too, and that's perfect. Okay. We should be good. Last time checking. Okay. So we are gonna install the hot part after, just to make it easier. So that's done. Now we are gonna need to install the fan using 2 of the screws here, M3 by 14, and we actually need the hot end fan. So let's take the fans. Okay. So ensure that the cables are oriented at the bottom right. Okay, bottom right. Let's make sure the cable is bottom right. So like this. So the cable is coming from the bottom right. Then both screws, 1 and 2. Let's tighten these things. There we go. One and 2. There, perfect. Then that's what we're gonna do. So for this, we are gonna need the back plate. We are gonna need this part. That's the spacer. And obviously the hot end part. So we are gonna need, make sure we have an M3 by 12 and M3 by 28. I know that I don't have M3 by 28, so first of all, let's find the M3 by 12, which is here. That's the screw that's going to be captured. So this screw is going to be captured like this. Here. Then the spacer needs to go on it. And the spacer is going to keep the screw in place. Okay, now we placed the hot end part here. And actually we need to find some screw that are going to replace the M3 by 28. And we are going to use M3 by 25. That should be enough. Just going to make sure it actually fits. Let's make sure M3 by 25 should be enough. Yep, that will work. So that's what we're going to use. M3 by 25, just because I don't have 28 and the kit doesn't include 28. Or does it? Maybe. No, that's 20. Okay. So M3 by 25. And as I said, we need to align everything here. So that's aligned. That's aligned too. and then we can actually tighten everything up. That's one, and that's two. Now, there is one thing that you need to make sure. This needs to be here just for the cables. So make sure that you do have the spacer in the right orientation, and then tighten everything. There, everything is installed and working. Okay, let's go back to that. Then that's already done. That's already done. That's already done. Now, we are gonna need to use M3x6 and to install that part. Okay, so that's the reason I did not install the hot part of the hot end, because this is gonna be really close to here, and by doing so we won't have the problem. Okay, so to install this, first of all we need to run the cable from the hot end fan to the opening, and then run everything all the way there. That's it. So make sure no cables are pinched here, and then we are gonna tighten the screw that we installed from the back. Oh, that's not gonna work. Let's take something else. So let's tighten everything there. And we can actually tighten everything. So once again, check that the cables are not pinched between plastic parts. And there we go. That's done. And now we can actually place the two M3x6 here and the other side. So let's grab some M3x6 screws. M3x6. There they are. M3x6. There. The first one. That's one. And let's install the last one. And the second one. There. That's done. Okay. Bonsoir Laurent. Hi Lauren. Okay, let's go back to this. Then we are gonna install the fans. Also using M3x8, and we should also need some screws for here. That's gonna be M3x8 too. Okay. So let's take care of the fans. So for the fans, we are gonna need these. We are gonna need the fans, obviously. And we said M3x8. Let's find M3x8. Do I have M3x8 somewhere here? No. Nope, nope, nope. So let's grab mine. Okay. So M3x8. And there is something that we also need to check, because as I said in one of the previous stream, is that I'm using front magnets. So these two parts are actually modified to have a small hole here to place a magnet. So I'm just going to need to check the orientation for the magnets. Yep, perfect. So let's place magnets. So the magnets are going to be on the parts going up. Okay. So there, that's one magnet. Let's push it. Let's double check everything. Okay, that's one. And there is the second one. There. Okay, let's check this one too. Yes, that's okay. So we have the magnets installed here. Now we can actually move with installing the fans. So first of all, we need to remove the lid on both the fans. That's quite easy. You just use your fingers and that's it. That's not going to be used. Let's do the second one. There. For some reason, I have been having trouble with one of the fans, which is this one. Yes. So for some reason, I don't know, I should send a message to Nemi, because that's one of Nemi's mod. I have to remove just a bit of plastic here, otherwise the fan is going to collide with the plastic part. So that's going to be easy. Just a bit, and that's going to be done. There, should be enough. There. And now everything should be okay. So the fans, let's install these. Quite easy. It just need to slide in place. And now we can check if the fan is okay. Yes. So as I said, you can see here, there is just enough room now that I remove the plastic for it to move. There. That's why I removed the plastic. So as I was saying, just here, it's almost colliding. And by removing just a bit of plastic from here, that's working. That's why. Okay. Is it freezed? Yeah, seems like it froze. Okay, perfect, working again. So that's one fan. The second one, let's install it. So we need to run the cables properly and slide it in place. There. The second one doesn't have the same problem. It's working. Okay, so that's done. Now let's install the fans. We're gonna start with this one because we actually need to run the cable properly. There we go. The cable should be in place. Yes, the cable is in place. And using M3 by 8, 1, 2, and 3, we can then tighten everything. On. Hi, Erdrum. Happy New Year to you too. That's one side. Let's install the last one of the screws here. And that's one side. And I just realized that I'm gonna have trouble with the cables for the hot end, so we're gonna take care of it just after. And here on the other side, just make sure that we have, just making sure that we have the cable from the hot end fan in place before we actually install the fan itself. And there we go. Okay. And also 3 screws. 1, 2, and the last one is going to be used. There. That's one. Let's install the second one. And this one. Chevron. The thing is, I have no clue what I did, but the USB that you keep hearing unplugging is from the other computer. And I should have a look to this, but I have no idea what's happening with it. For now, I will take a look. So as I was saying, I will need to remove that fan just to make sure I can actually run the cables for the hot ends, and then place it again. Okay, let's remove this. There. Okay, so as I was saying, let's install these. What way do I want it? Okay, I would like the 2 stronger cables after. Okay, like this. Okay, so the reason I didn't want to install it before is that it's colliding, it's always colliding with the front part of the tool head, but that's a pain to install. Let's try to bend that a bit. Even bending it is not gonna be the solution. Okay, so what am I gonna try? I'm gonna try to do something else. Yeah, I'm gonna try something else. Like this. Okay, now let's try to run these in place. Like this. Yes. I'm not sure that this is actually in place. Let's try to remove it. That's always a pain here. So let's make sure. Yeah, I don't think the spring is actually in place. I'm pretty sure it's not, actually. Yep, it's not. Okay, how am I gonna do this? What did I do for this? Okay, I actually bend it a bit. Like this. And it should run smoothly. Okay, so I do have the spring in place. Now let's try to screw that back on. I always hate when we have an hard part that we actually cannot move. Okay, so the cables are actually in place. Now we need to replace the fan. Let's install the fan in place. Make sure the cable is not in the way. There, everything's okay. And we can actually put the screws back in place. One, two. There we go. Morning, Joseph. And there we go with the last screw. Okay, so now we have both the fans installed. We are gonna pre-run the cables. There, 1, 2, and these ones are stronger. They are gonna end here. Okay. Also, these two will run here. Perfect. So let's go back to where we were. So that's what we did. Perfect. We are not gonna install the magnets now. We're gonna install the magnet at the end because I'm gonna use some glue for this. Okay, the PTFE. Okay, PTFE and then M3 by 12 for this. Okay. The PTFE, that's gonna be a problem. Well, not a hard to fix problem, but we have no clue of how long the PTFE should be. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna take the extruder. So that's the arbiter that we're gonna use. And we are gonna try to check how much of the PTFE we need. What do I have here? What do I have here? Do I have something that I can use? So we are gonna need what do we need here? We need 6 millimeters for the extruder. And let's try this. Okay, so we need 6 more millimeters from that part. Okay. I do need a scalpel. There. And I said 6 millimeters. How am I gonna do this? Okay, I'm sorry, but you guys won't see a lot while I cut it, but it doesn't matter. All that matters is that this is cut to the size. So I said 6 millimeters from here. That's gonna be troublesome. That won't work. That won't work. Okay, 6 from here. There. We'll see if that's okay. Let's see if that's 6. Actually, that's 6.5. So we're gonna just rim it. Let's remove just a bit of it. I'm gonna cut myself if I do this. There. That's 6. Hi, Panda. And that's actually 6 millimeters. Perfect. Now, let's make sure I don't cut myself with the blades, because I'm honestly capable of. And we should have a chamfer here, so there are a lot of solution to do this. What I'm gonna do is just use this and remove just a tiny bit from it. That's okay. You can use a drill bit, you can use pretty much everything you want. Just make sure that you have a chamfer here, because I don't have a drill bit on hand, but that should be enough. Well, actually, I do have a drill bit. There. Let's do this properly. So 2 millimeters drill bit. Nope. Let's take the 3. And let's make a chamfer correctly. Perfect. There we go. And it froze again. Yes, it did froze again. That's insane. Yeah, don't worry, Panda. I'm gonna make sure nothing is... I have no clue why this camera keeps freezing. Honestly, I have no clue on this. It's still frozen. Okay. Let's double check everything's okay with this. No, that's not the tiniest. I need really tiny one. Okay, so let's remove that and make sure that no PTFE is actually going to the nozzle. There, nothing is stuck inside. Perfect. Let's put that back in and we can continue with it. Okay, so where was I? Here. Let's place the extruder. Should be perfect. There. And we need M3 by 12 button heads. Do I have M3 by 12 button heads somewhere? No, let's not lose time. I know that I have those screws. So 1 and 2. And there we go. That's 1. And this second one. Oh, it's froze again. Do you guys have the image frozen, or am I the only one? Because honestly, that's a pain. Okay. Unfrozen. Should be unfrozen now. Okay, so I'm probably just gonna change the camera. So as I was saying, M3 by 12s here. There we go. Once again, making sure that no cables are pinched. And we almost have a tool head. Okay, so now we are going to install these two parts and using M3 by 8. Okay. So, okay. So, last time I said that I would not be using the printed part for this, because instead I'm gonna use these. I like it better. So let's install these two parts. It's basically the exact same thing. Yes, thank you, Chevron. I will send you this. So that's basically, as I was saying, these two blue parts are basically the exact same thing as the printed part, the same length and everything's exactly the same, but it's not printed. I don't know why, I just hate printed spacers. Okay, let's install this now. So we're gonna need M3 by 8, 4 of these, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And install this. So before I tighten anything, I'm gonna run the cables in place. So there are a few cables that are gonna run through there. I think that we have the LEDs, yes, the LEDs and the hot end part. So let's run from here, we need to run these 2 cables before I tighten anything. That's one. And we also need this one. So like this. And there we go. We have now those 2 cables, and we can actually place the last screws. So the 2 bottom screws are directly tightened in the plastic, so we don't want to over tight these 2 screws, but we want to make sure that these are in place before we tighten the 2 top ones. That's one. That's the second one. And now we can actually tighten the 2 top ones. 1 and 2. There. We are almost done with it. So let's have a look. There are 2 cables running here. The LED one and the thermistor one for the hot end. That we are gonna change later. Okay, now let's go back to what we have to do. We're gonna install the tap part using also M3x8 and the Nighthawk using M3x8. Okay. Okay, so the tap, where is the tap? Should be somewhere here. So the tap. So we need the PCB for the tap. We don't need the cables coming with it. And we also need the Nighthawk. Just the board for now. Okay, so let's install these 2 PCB. We also need M3x8. 1, 2, 3, and I think there is a 4th one. Yes. So let's install tap first. So that's the reason I wanted to run the cables now, because installing the tap will lock the access. You won't be able to run cables. So once again, we are screwing directly in the plastic, so make sure that you are not over tightening anything. One, and that's the second one. Okay, perfect. Now let's install this one. So we are going to use 2 screws here. We are not going to place screws here now because we are going to use this after, and the screws going here will be installed later. To do this, all I want is to make sure that I have my screws in place. Just installing the screws, not tightening anything for now. There. And we can actually place the PCB on it. That's it. And now we can screw everything correctly. There, that's installed. So this is in place. Now, all we have to do is that, but we are going to use it later, M3 by 12. So all we have to do now is make sure that we do have the cables in place. Okay. So let's make sure that we have all the cables in place. We need cable ties. So we need zip ties. Okay, let's run all the cables. So this one is going to be easiest to place. So let's plug this on. Okay, extruder plugged. Now let's install these. The correct thing. Let's make sure that we have our cables correctly installed. There. Those cables won't move anymore. That's okay. That's one side. So let's run these cables. So we have the hot end fan. So the hot end fan is gonna go just here. Let's plug this on. That's the hot end fan. We also have the part cooling fan on the left. That should go here. Let's make sure everything's in place. While we are here, you have jumpers on the board. You have 3 jumpers. Make sure that the jumpers are correctly installed according to the voltage of your fans. Otherwise, you're going to have trouble with it. So you have 2 on the left for the hot end fan and the pot cooling fan, and you have one last one for tap. If you are running the 5 or 24 volts, you don't have to mind for the tap, but make sure that you are correctly plugged for the fans. So that's okay. Now we have the LEDs, and the LEDs are going somewhere. Sorry, I'm just double checking everything. Oh, that's written on it. So let's install the LEDs here. That's okay. We also have the tap one that we are going to install later. And now we need to install these. So the part cooling fan from the right is going to be the last one here. So let's install this. And we also need to install the hot end cables. So let's unscrew these first. Okay, and now we can actually run the cables. That's one, and that's the second one. Now let's tighten everything, and we will be able to place the cables correctly after this. Okay, now we only have that one cable that is not plugged, but that won't matter. We can now run all the cables correctly in place and run a zip tie to make sure everything's going to be staying where they should be. I'm also going to run the zip tie on the LED cables to make sure it's not moving. There. Okay, so zip tie. And as I said, I'm gonna catch the LED cables so that they don't move. And there we go. There. Cables are blocked in place. Nothing's gonna move. And as you can see, everything's in place. The only thing we need to do now is change that part and make sure that we have the correct one. So for this, let's make sure that we have the correct length and cut. Let's cut this. There. And we need the correct end for this. There we go. So we need one of these and 2 slots here. Okay, 1, 2 should be enough if I don't do stupid things. There we go. Okay, now let's do this. That's one. That's always a pain. Two small cables. There we go. So I'm not using, sorry, I'm not using the best tools now, but that's what I have on hand. And that's gonna be perfectly fine for 2 crimps. Okay, let's do the crimps. That's one. Let's make sure that it's gonna fit. Okay. So that's one. And let's make the second one. So as I said, I know I'm not using the correct crimp, but the correct tools for this, but That's what I have on hand, and that's gonna be perfectly fine for this. Okay, and let's do the second one. There. That's gonna be perfect. Okay. So let's move that away. That's gonna be okay. And let's place the end. Why is it such a pain? I need some tool. I need a tool that is okay. I just need this to push. Okay, that should be good, and the last one should be good also. Let's double check. Perfect. So the crimp is done, and we can actually install it. There. Everything is in place, correctly crimped, correctly placed. We have every cables correctly installed. The blue tool, this one, that's just to remove the plastic around the cables. Amazon, €5. That's that's really cool. Okay, so let's wrap this up. All we need to do now is use 2 screws to place this, and we are done. So M3x12, and we're gonna be done with it. 1, 2, yes, perfect. So these screws are a pain to put in place, but I decided to go with it. Okay. Those 2 screws are probably the worst pain there is to install. You don't have the right space to do so, and the angle to do it is complicated. I think I'm done with one. Yes. Okay, so one is okay. Yeah, the first one is good. Let's do the second one. There. Yeah, we'll tell Nemi for this. But I mean, everything is perfect. Okay, let's place this, and we will be done with it. there. That's it. And there we go. We have a tool head. So that's how we do the tool head. So as you've seen, I already have all the tool heads ready. On the printer, there we go. So I have all 5 of the tool heads now. As I said earlier, we are gonna stop the stream for tonight because I have things that I said I would do, and I'm sorry for this, but that's gonna be all for tonight. Next week, we are gonna try to wrap things up. We have the tool heads. All we need to do now is run the cables from the back of the printer to the tool heads. That should be fast enough. And do the top hat. That will be quite easy. So next week we should be done with the build itself. And well, so next week build will be done, and the week after we will do the software and everything, and we will have a working printer in 2 weeks. I wish you all, once again, Happy New Year. I'm sorry that I cannot make the stream last longer today, but I did what I wanted and made the last tool head for this. So I see you all next week, and next week we are gonna finish the build itself on the printer. Have a great evening, have a great day wherever you are, and see you next week.